On the day of my hairpin ceremony, the snow fell heavily, and he said he wanted to break off the engagement. I had been standing happily in front of the flower hall. With cold eyes, he asked me to let him go, saying he'd rather shatter like jade than marry me. My father slammed the table in fury. Break it off then, as if my daughter, the legitimate heir of the Grand Tutor, must marry you. Putting on quite the show of having my back. If I hadn't lived this life over again, I am afraid I'd still be played like a fool by these two. These two, who should have been my closest people, conspired to trick me into breaking off the engagement for the sake of another woman. Then let that woman bully and humiliate me until they watched me drown in the pond. Living this life again, here they come once more. I curled my lips. Sure, Shen Qingyan, I'll grant your wish. He instantly breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you, miss, for graciously agreeing to break off the engagement. I smiled mockingly. I mean, I'll grant your wish to shatter, like jade. As for breaking off the engagement, since you'll be shattered anyway, there is no need for such trouble. Being widowed works just fine too. Shen Qingyan suddenly froze, his face deathly pale. I slowly sipped my osmanthus tea, looking at him. Vice Minister Shen, don't just stand there. If you are going to shatter, hurry up. The sun will set soon. Then I won't be able to see clearly how you shatter. Quishuili, you. Why can't you just grant my wish? Do you want me that badly? Shen Qingyan asked urgently, losing his usual composure. He had thought that if he said he wouldn't marry me, I would hold my head high and agree, never trying to make him stay. After all, everyone in the capital knew I had a proud and unyielding temperament. In my past life, I did exactly that, didn't even ask a single question more. I naively believed that heartless men would be punished by heaven, that my father would stand up for me, and that I was too proud to want him anyway. He would surely regret everything, wish he were dead, and spend the rest of his life in misery. But I was wrong. Heartless men don't feel remorse, don't feel guilt, and don't have even a shred of regret. 3 months after breaking off our engagement, he married his sweetheart. With my father's support, he rose to great heights, living happily ever after. In the end, crushing me and my mother to death was as easy as crushing an ant. Now that I am living this life again, they want to replay this drama. They must be dreaming. Since he'd rather shatter like jade, then let him shatter ground to dust and scattered to the wind. That kind of shattered. Thinking this, I asked him loudly, not caring at all whether others heard. Shen Qingyan, you said you want me to let you go to be with whom? He imperceptibly raised the corner of his lips, with a hint of disdain. I am breaking off the engagement because I simply don't fancy Miss Kuei. What does it have to do with anyone else? Why must Miss Kuei slander me, just because she failed to force this marriage? Truly worthy of being a hypocrite and heartless scoundrel. With just a few words, he wiped himself clean and turned around to accuse me of forcing the marriage and having low character. Onlookers all covered their mouths and exchanged sidelong glances, whispering among themselves. Vice Minister Shen is truly noble and pure, unwilling to even curry favor with the Grand Tutor's household. Wasn't it said that the Grand Tutor's legitimate daughter is unmatched in both talent and beauty? Having seen her today, beautiful she may be, but sorely lacking in womanly virtue. Shen Qingyan heard these remarks, a flash of satisfaction in his eyes. I pretended not to notice and took the hand warmer from the maid. While warming my hands, I asked back unhurriedly, "Back then, weren't you the one who said you were enamored with me and personally sought my hand in marriage? Did I ever force you?" Never. His face turned ashen. According to the law, a unilateral annulment requires the other party to have committed one of the 10 unforgivable offenses such as infidelity or impurity. May I ask which one I've committed? I can discuss this privately with the Grand Tutor. In my previous life, he did the same thing, deliberately announcing the annulment in public without giving a reason, calculating that I'd be too embarrassed to say another word. So everyone assumed I had done something shameful, and no one thought he was the one who'd had a change of heart. I became the talk of Jingxi's streets, while he became the gentleman who'd concealed my misdeeds. Latter, when others couldn't avoid me fast enough, wasn't this part of the reason? This faithless man, his traps are truly one after another. If he won't say it, then I have to ask even more. Since you are annulling the engagement in public, you should state your reasons in public. Don't let everyone think that I, Shuili, have done something unspeakable. Only then did the crowd come to their senses, all nodding in agreement. Shen Qingyan blushed and was speechless. Yet my father jumped out, visibly displeased. Shuili, don't discuss such disgraceful matters in public. These words were as good as confirming I had committed one of the 10 abominations. How is this my real father? Isn't he just an old scoundrel? I set down the hand warmer, looked straight at him, and suddenly smiled. Father, even the heartless ones aren't afraid of losing face. I've done nothing wrong, so which face of yours have I lost? My father's face turned blue with rage, pointing at me. You. I eagerly stepped forward and pressed. Father, what about me? Do tell. Everyone covered their mouths and snickered. My father dejectedly lowered his trembling hand, his lips pressed tightly together. His fists were clenched so tight his knuckles turned white. I sat back down on the beauty's couch and took a gentle sip of warm tea to moisten my throat. Since my rebirth, I'd been talking too much, too loudly, and my throat couldn't quite keep up with the demand. I cleared my throat and glanced at Shen Qingyan. Well then, Lord Shen, please speak. Which of the 10 abominations have I exactly committed? Everyone's waiting to hear your brilliant discourse. Shen Qingyan's face turned ashen. Miss Kuei, I have no habit of discussing private matters in public. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, then wasn't it Lord Shen who just publicly announced the broken engagement? Lord Shen, you go back on your word. Is it really I who have unspeakable matters? Or is it you, Lord Shen, who have an unspeakable person? The surroundings instantly fell silent. The love for gossip is truly the same for both men and women. My father hurriedly ushered the guests to drink tea and disperse. Then he pulled me aside, his lowered voice laced with impatience and warning. Shuili, when did you become so sharp-tongued? Since he has already said he doesn't want to marry, why must you degrade yourself by insisting on it? If you insist on twisting that bitter melon, you'll eat bitterness for a lifetime. Don't come looking for me to stand up for you. Ha, and I was counting on him to stand up for me. What an utter joke, father. Though a forcibly twisted melon is bitter, picking it makes me feel good. Once I pick it, I don't have to eat it. I can throw it away. I can feed it to pigs and dogs. I just can't let it sit there being pathetic and an eyesore to me. You, making such a scene. It really makes it look like my QA family's daughter can't get married. Listen to father, stop arguing, and graciously agree to let him break off the engagement. That would be the best for both sides. My father finished speaking, and with a wave of his hand, his word was final. Such is the inviolable authority of a father. Shen Qingyan had even already joyfully bowed in gratitude to my father. I slowly raised my head, looking my father straight in the eyes. Father, the both sides you speak of, which two people's best, is this. Surely having my engagement broken off shouldn't count as best. For me, right. Then whose completeness is that between him, Shen Qingyan, and whom? My father didn't expect me to ask this question, and was momentarily at a loss for words. At this moment, my cousin Luan, who was staying at our residence, gracefully arrived. We've always been similar in age and the closest to each other. She gently tugged at my sleeve and quietly advised me, Cousin, as women, we should obey our parents. That is the proper way. If you defy uncle in public like this, how can he save face? Slap with lightning speed. I slapped her with all my strength, without any mercy. Liu Wanner's fair little face immediately swelled up on one side. She looked at me in disbelief. Cousin, I was kindly advising you. Why did you hit me? My father and Shen Qingyan also looked at me in shock. They never would have expected that I, who had always been gentle, proper, and graceful, would slap someone. And the one I slapped was the cousin I had always protected. I sneered coldly. Before asking me, why don't you first ask yourself if you deserve a beating? Pa, I am hitting her on purpose. In my previous life, she stayed at my home, and I treated her like a dear sister, afraid she'd suffer the slightest grievance, looking after her in every way. but she stabbed me in the back and schemed against me, causing me and my mother to die miserably. For such a venomous person, this slap was truly a gift. My father and Shen Qingyan took a moment to react before stepping in front of her together. Lu Wanner pretended to sob pitifully, while smugly poking her head out from beside the two of them, raising her eyebrows to provoke me. So cheap. She just got slapped. Yet seeing both men protecting her, she got smug again. Since you want to show your face, don't blame me then. Slap. Another crisp sound rang out. I slapped that exposed half of her face again. You want to show your face? I'll let you show a big one. Both sides swollen equally, big, red, and beautiful. Shuili, why are you so unreasonable? My father and Shen Qingyan scolded me urgently in unison. They never expected I would strike again at this moment. I shook my slightly sore wrist and said, Father, I was disciplining her on your behalf. Think about it. I was having a proper conversation with you. What kind of trash is she to jump out and sow discord, saying I am being defiant to you? Can't I even ask my father a question now? Standing behind you two and still raising her eyebrows at me. She is obviously a seductive vixen. Doesn't she deserve to be slapped? I didn't. Lu Wanner covered her face and denied it while crying, looking so aggrieved as if she was about to die. Both my father and Shen Qingyan had faces full of anger. But seeing the crowd watching, my father suppressed his anger and said in a deep voice, Forget it. Stop arguing. We're making a spectacle of ourselves. Today's matter all started because of the broken engagement. It is truly not a good match. I'll make the decision and grant Vice Minister Shen's request. This was his way of appeasing Lu Wanner. Lu Wanner lowered her eyes to hide her smile. I'll listen to Uncle. I won't argue with cousin anymore. I also smiled gently. Father, do you have many biological daughters in this world? My father suddenly looked up at me and after a moment scolded. Don't speak nonsense. Lear is just confused, Shen Qingyan said. He wanted to break off the engagement, and father didn't ask a single question before hastily agreeing to let him do so. I merely asked him the reason for breaking off the engagement. He couldn't say a single word, yet you never scolded him once, and instead came to criticize me. Doe's father have another daughter eagerly waiting to marry him. I deliberately spoke in ambiguous terms. Both Shen Qingyan and my father showed a hint of panic, caught off guard, spouting nonsense. Who doesn't know you are my only daughter? What father means is, as far as everyone knows, I am your only daughter. But there is another daughter that everyone doesn't know about. I looked at the two of them with a smile playing at the corners of my lips. My father's face was suddenly shrouded in frost. In front of everyone, he had always appeared gentle, loving, and doting on his daughter. This mask he could finally no longer keep on. Quishuili, know when to stop. Don't be so inconsiderate of the bigger picture and disgrace the QI family's reputation. Oh, more disgraceful to the QI family than me being publicly rejected without reason. I said thoughtfully, it just so happens that after this hairpin ceremony banquet, the Empress has summoned me and Mother to the palace. I'll have her judge for me. Who exactly is the one losing face? I am waving the Empress's banner as my tiger skin. Mother and the Empress are bosom friends. In my past life, I was aloof and self-restrained, too ashamed to ask for help, and in the end both Mother and I pathetically. This life, anything I need to use, anything I can use. I won't leave a single thing behind after the banquet. I'll go pay the Empress a visit. My father and Shen Qingyan exchanged a glance, and ultimately didn't dare provoke me further, softening their stance. Shuili, could it be you've gone delirious from the fever? I tightened my fox fur cloak. I didn't burn into confusion, I burned into clarity. Last night I caught a chill, developed a fever, and slept unconsciously through the night. When I woke again, it was no ordinary awakening. It was then that I experienced rebirth. Seeing my pathetic past life, I was so furious I nearly coughed up blood. In my past life, with my blessing, Shen Qingyan and Lu Wanner quickly got married. Soon they had both a son and daughter, becoming an ideal couple envied by everyone in the capital. And I, The legitimate daughter of the Kuai family became the laughingstock of the entire capital, with no one willing to take me as their legal wife. After mother passed away, I had no more ties and voluntarily went to Qingxin Nunnery outside the city to cultivate, thinking I'd spend the rest of my wretched life with a dim lamp before ancient Buddha, but they wouldn't even grant me this bit of peace. The following spring, Shen Qingyan accompanied Lu Wanner, who already held an imperial title, to burn incense at the nunnery. He was splendidly dressed, while I wore a monastic robe washed until faded white. I couldn't dodge in time and ran right into him under the plum tree. Shuili, he dismissed his attendants and stepped closer to me. You've gotten much thinner. These years. Have you been well? I know you still have me in your heart back then. It was Wanner who schemed against me, got pregnant with my child, so I had no choice but to marry her. But she is not even a fraction of your grace. If you are willing, I can set up a villa outside the city for you. Scram. I slapped him hard across the face and turned to leave. I paid no mind to the malice and rage in his eyes. I thought the matter would end there, but I didn't expect that a few days later, Lu Wanner would suddenly show up at the nunnery with people, accusing me of having an affair with a man inside. Witnesses and evidence were all prepared for me. No matter how I denied it, no one believed me. Just then, my father arrived after hearing the news. I instantly burst into tears. Father, you've finally come to save me. Your daughter has been so wronged. But my father's face was ashen, just staring at me like that. Lu Wanner put on a considerate expression and said, an examination will tell. Let's not wrong sister unfairly. Several burly servant women tore at my clothes in public. Indeed not a virgin, Lu Wanner said with a smile. Sister, then there is really nothing to be done. Having an affair means you can only be drowned in the pond. This was obviously a frame-up against me, but my father actually believed it. He closed his eyes with a trace of pain. When he opened them again, only righteous indignation remained. For the Kua family's reputation, just preserve your honor through death. Preserve my honor in both lifetimes. I never understood why he was so cruel to me. When I was little, he clearly used to kiss me, hold me, and carry me on his shoulders. The three of them stood side by side, watching without blinking as I struggled and sank in the bone-chilling lake water. So hateful. I really hate them so much. Shuili. Father's voice pulled me back from that overwhelming coldness. I suddenly snapped back to my senses. Father's hand was reaching toward my forehead. She still hasn't recovered from the fever, Shen Qingyan asked. My father nodded and said quietly, yes, no wonder she has been making such a fuss today. She is clearly still not lucid, deep down. She is still deeply in love with you. We'll have to slowly find the right opportunity to bring this up again. Shen Qingyan said irritably. I had no idea she was so incapable of being without me. What? The bone-deep hatred in my heart was becoming impossible to suppress. The two of them were actually still convinced that I was deeply in love with Shen Qingyan and thought my retaliation was just fever-induced delirium. This was truly the retribution for being his good daughter for 15 years. I abruptly brushed off my father's hand, swept past Shen Qingyan's astonished eyes, and turned to leave. My father didn't dare use force again, but was unwilling to give up. So he switched to an earnest expression of doing this for my own good. It is good that you are going back. Think it over carefully. You are the legitimate daughter of the Kuai family. Why worry about not being able to marry? Father will find you a better one. They lied to me, scared me, and coaxed me, just to get me to say with my own mouth that I was willing to break off the engagement. That way, I wouldn't be able to make a scene at the Empress's place anymore. Dream on. I am going to bring Mother into the palace to cry and complain right away. I let out a scornful laugh. No need to say more. You want me to help you all while disgusting myself. You can forget about it. Shen Qingyan finally couldn't hold back his anger anymore. He took a swift step to stand in front of me, blocking my way. Kui Shuili, why can't you just let me go? That bitter ink fragrance from his body drifted over, mixed with the cold air of the snowy day. In my past life, I thought this scent was so refined and elegant. But smelling it now, isn't this just the stink of a poor scholar? I covered my nose and said, who is not letting you go? Didn't you say yourself you'd rather shatter like jade? I've already granted your wish. What are you still yapping about here? Hurry up and go shatter then. But... I paused for a moment, and Shen Qingyan choked. You changed your mind. I pointed at the manor gate and said, if you are going to shatter, do it farther away. Don't splash blood all over me. With that, I flicked my sleeves and left. Thinking about it, I still didn't feel satisfied. I looked back and saw Shen Qingyan and my father standing there dumbfounded. What a great opportunity. So I went back, grabbed a pot of hot tea, and splashed it all over the two of them. Then gave Shen Qingyan a hard kick that sent him tumbling into the snow. Everyone was dumbstruck. I hastily explained. Sorry, the weather's cold and snowy, my hands and feet slipped. Shen Qingyan sat in the snow, stunned. Are you Shuili, my father? Have you gone mad? I laughed to the heavens in my heart. Mad, of course I am going to be mad. If I am not mad. Then what did I get rebirth for? After leaving the flower hall, I went to find Mother. Last night I had a high fever, and she stayed with me until nearly dawn before resting. When I arrived, she had just woken up. She was already ill, and now looked even more haggard. But the moment she saw me, she smiled dotingly. Is Lear getting anxious? Mother will be over to pin up your hair in just a bit. As Mother spoke, she placed her hand on my forehead to check if I still had a fever. That hand, warm, carrying her scent. How I missed this comforting smell. I took a deep sniff, and tears came crashing down. Mother is still alive. How wonderful. In my past life, she had to endure my father's filth her whole life because of me. Because of me. She was even forced to kneel by Lu Wanner. In the end, she was tormented to an early death. My maternal grandfather's family are wealthy merchants in Jiangnan. She could have asked the Empress for a divorce and returned to Jiangnan, but she feared I would lose my status because of it, and endured in the Qi household until her death. I threw myself into Mother's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Mother smiled and wiped my tears. Hey, everything's fine. Why are you crying? Today is your hairpin ceremony. You should be happy. Granny Zhao beside Mother carefully spoke up. Madam, Vice Minister Shen publicly demanded to break off the engagement. The master agreed. The young miss refused. My mother angrily shot to her feet, then fell back onto the soft couch. She held me tightly and said, It is okay, little Ali. He is blind and doesn't deserve you. Stop crying. If he wants to break off the engagement, just agree. Don't waste your whole life on someone who isn't worth it. I rubbed my nose and said, I am not crying because of them. I am crying because I missed Mother. Heaven knows how much I missed Mother in my previous life after Mother passed away. I entered Qingshin Nunnery and devoutly struck the wooden fish, never missing a single day, all just to pray that I could meet Mother again in my next life. I never expected that I would experience rebirth. This life, I won't let Mother die young. I wiped my tears and said, Mother is right. I certainly won't want that heartless man anymore. But I won't let them off easy either. Mother, could you request an audience with the Empress? Back when Shen Qingyan and I got engaged, she even sent a grand gift. Now that something has happened, we should tell her about it. Better we speak first, lest others get to her first with unpleasant words. Mother nodded and said, That makes sense too. The news of Shen Qingyan publicly breaking off our engagement at my coming-of-age banquet quickly spread throughout the capital. So when my mother requested an audience, the Empress granted it immediately. The sedan chair traveled along the snow-covered long street. I snuggled in Mother's arms. Mother was trembling with anger, yet she still held back her tears and gently patted me to comfort me, just like when I was little. I rubbed away my tears, looked up at her, and said with a smile, Mother, do you think I am upset? No, I am quite happy. I didn't actually marry into their family. Isn't that heaven looking out for me? Besides, I didn't lose out. I left my father and Shen Qingyan standing there like a pair of wooden stakes. I even slapped Lu Wanner twice. Really? My mother's eyes lit up. I was just afraid that a lie would suffer in silence to accommodate others. Nanny Zhao said, The young miss speaks the absolute truth. After she left, those three were still dumbstruck for quite a while. How satisfying. She was Mother's dowry nanny and had long been disgusted with my hypocritical and heartless father. Mother also smiled at this moment. While chatting and laughing, we arrived at the imperial palace. I knelt down and recounted the day's events one by one. The Empress's phoenix eyes darkened slightly. What a Shen Qingyan, bullying people too far. Grand Tutor Kuai has also gone senile. His own legitimate daughter's dignity matters less to him than a student, and some nobody of a niece. She personally helped me up. Ali, tell me, how would you like this Empress to seek justice for you? I raised my head, a layer of moisture welling up in my eyes. Your Highness, my voice was slightly hoarse. After this incident, I am afraid a lie can no longer stay in this capital. I wonder if I could ask Your Highness to grant me a royal merchant license for trading silk and cotton. Shuili wishes to go to Jiangnan to find my maternal grandfather. Upon hearing me mention going to Jiangnan, both the Empress and my mother's eyes lit up. That was the place where they grew up together as children. The Empress patted my mother's hand with tears glistening in her eyes. Good, Jiangnan is good. Mother nodded, choking back sobs. On the way back, Mother asked me why I specifically wanted the royal merchant route for silk and cotton, since silk, cotton, grain, and salt were all controlled by the royal family. When Mother asked this, she seemed like a different person. But I couldn't put my finger on what had changed. I said that I didn't have much capital, and since silk and cotton prices were low this year, I thought I'd give it a try. Actually, in my previous life, both silk and cotton had bumper harvests. This year prices were extremely low, and countless people abandoned them. But starting from the spring and summer of the following year, cold rain poured down, and the cold spell lasted for an entire year. Countless people froze to death. I am stockpiling silk, which I can sell at high prices to nobles and officials when the time comes. And by stockpiling cotton, I can help those poor people. This way, I won't be losing out either. As we were almost home, Mother spoke up again. Liar, do you really want to leave the Kuya family? So this was what she had been pondering the whole way. I leaned against her shoulder and said coquettishly, Mother, of course I mean it. You saw it yourself today. Father's heart left us long ago. What else is there for me to miss in this home besides you, Mother? Besides, now that I have the imperial merchant status, we can set up our own household and live freely. What are we waiting around for? Mother smiled. I was bursting with energy. I'll first pave a solid path for Mother and me going forward, then it won't be too late to tear off their human masks. When that time comes, I want Mother to sit comfortably on the side and watch with her own eyes. Watch them taste the coldness of that lake water. Taste that despair of slowly sinking down, suffocating bit by bit. By the time we returned to the manor, dusk had fallen. I was supporting Mother as we just stepped through the courtyard gate when I saw Father sitting in the main hall with a grim face. He slammed the teacup down heavily. Kneel. Mother stepped forward, but I grabbed and pulled her back. Who made Father angry? I asked, pretending to be curious. Father, don't be upset. Ali, say something happy. Tode, Mother, and I went to the palace and received praise from the Empress. The Empress praised me for my good temperament, and praised Mother for raising her daughter well. Her Majesty specially rewarded us with Bloodbird's nest tributed from Jiangnan. Isn't Father happy? My father's face alternated between pale and green. At this moment, Luwaner just had to come out again. So what if the Empress praised you? Those were just pleasantries. I grabbed the teacup that my father had just used to show off to my mother and me, and hurled it at him with all my might. Luwaner stood next to my father, drenched all over, with tea-leaf dregs still stuck to her little face. My father slammed the table and stood up. Unfilial daughter, considering today is your hairpin ceremony, I let your outburst at the banquet slide. Now you still dare to act up, I said. Father, you should thank me for saving our Kui household. Who is the Empress? Is her imperial will something we as subjects should speculate about? What status does that Luwaner have? How dare she say Her Majesty's words were just pleasantries? She even dared to say, so what if the Empress praised you? Isn't this showing contempt and making reckless remarks about the royal family? My father shuddered. Seeing that my father didn't stand up for her, Luwaner cried, Uncle, everyone here bullies me for being motherless. If you really can't tolerate me, I'll just leave. Why must you humiliate me like this? Saying this, she made a show of leaving. My father got heated in the moment and said, "At home, obey your father. It is indeed time for some discipline. Bring the family rod." My mother blocked in front of me and said angrily, "I'd like to see who dares touch Ali." My mother really has changed. In my past life, when my father punished me, she could only plead bitterly. When pleading got her nowhere, she would offer to take the punishment for me. But today, she was protecting me like she was about to bristle up. My heart felt so warm I can't even describe it. I smiled and comforted Mother. Mother, Father isn't going to beat me. He is going to beat that reckless cousin. My father glared wide-eyed and said, "Insane, truly insane. Drag a lie away." 30 strokes with the family rod. Luaner curled up the corners of her lips, looking like she was waiting to watch me get beaten. She is the one who deserves a beating. Those 2 slaps I gave her didn't teach her any lesson at all. I said, "Father, the Empress also gave me a verbal decree today. She said, if anyone dares bully me and Mother, I should hit them back. If I can't hit them back, I should report to her, and she'll help me hit them. Tell me, this Luaner keeps egging Father on to beat me and even disrespected the Empress. Should you beat her or beat me?" My father's hand holding the family rod trembled as he said, "Let's drop today's matter, but if you disrespect your father again in the future, I won't let you off." With that, he was about to leave with Luaner. How could I let that happen? I stopped the 2 of them. "Father, you said I deserved 30 strikes for disrespecting my elders. So isn't 30 strikes of family discipline too light for Luaner disrespecting the Empress?" Luaner's face turned completely pale. "I am not a Kui. You can't use family discipline on me." My father also nodded in agreement. I said, "You are right. Family discipline won't do. Nanny Zhao, go fetch the bamboo cane." The bamboo cane was used to discipline servants, much sturdier than the family paddle. Luaner panicked and knelt before my father to plead for mercy. My father glanced at me, but I paid him no attention whatsoever. My father's throat bobbed, and he had no choice but to turn to my mother. "You are the head matriarch of the household. She is just a junior. Please spare her this once." Luaner's eyes darted, and she crawled over to kneel and beg my mother. But in my previous life, she had forced my mother to kneel before her and beg her to spare me. What did she say back then? She said, "It is too late to kneel now. Shui Li did wrong and should be punished." She wanted to avenge her mother, Lu Xiaoxiao, because Lu Xiaoxiao claimed it was my mother who couldn't tolerate her, forcing her to wander to distant lands while 3 months pregnant. She said, Luaner could have lived in luxury since childhood, but it was all ruined by my mother, so she hated my mother to the bone, and once she gained power, she would torment my mother. Now how does she feel kneeling at my mother's feet? Must feel pretty good, huh? I feel good. My mother was just about to speak when Nanny Zhao hurriedly handed the bamboo rod to me. She knew my mother was soft-hearted. I am not soft. I rolled up my sleeves, raised the bamboo rod, and brought it down. Luaner let out a miserable scream and collapsed on the ground. I really went crazy, swinging my arm up and down like a madwoman. All the grievances my mother and I suffered from her in my past life were in these bamboo strikes. I put all my strength into every blow. My father watched me going mad, his face pale. He turned and ordered the butler to go fetch the state preceptor. He thought I was possessed. What he didn't know was that I myself was the evil. Too bad after only a dozen or so strikes, Luaner passed out. I guess the state preceptor hadn't even had time to prepare the black dog blood yet. I tossed the bamboo rod aside, pulled my mother along, and went back to our room. For several days straight, I was either on my way to throw a fit at my father or on my way to beat up Luaner. The whole household thought I was possessed, and no one dared to mess with me. The state preceptor said my evil was too strong to handle for the time being. Actually, it was because I told the state preceptor that I knew he had a mistress on the side. Thinking about all the crap I put up with in my past life, being a bit crazy is way better. Luaner finally couldn't take it anymore. She went to beg father to let her leave the mansion. I warmly insisted she stay. How could that work? Isn't your mother long dead? Where would you go after leaving the mansion? You are not going to make a living in brothels like your mother did, are you? Lu Wanner's face flushed red with anger, but she didn't dare say half a word against me. She just looked at my father with teary eyes. My father held his breath before daring to speak to me. Li Wanner's mother has already passed away. She was a respectable person. Why must you slander her so viciously? Ha, as expected of someone who made it to high official, he sure can lie with a straight face, I said. Father, what you are saying is really funny. Since when did Yang Pavilion become a respectable place? The moment I mentioned Yaihong Pavilion, my father drew a sharp breath. That is right, that was where he first met Lu Wanner's mother, Lu Xiaoxiao. Lu Xiaoxiao was the top courtesan. My father had bought her freedom, but the law explicitly forbade consorting with prostitutes, and Lu Xiaoxiao was too famous. My father had no choice but to secretly keep her in an outer residence. He thought he'd done it flawlessly, and besides, Lu Xiaoxiao was already dead. Hearing me bring it up, he was naturally startled inside. Yet he still forced himself to stay calm and asked me, "How did you come to know about Yang Pavilion?" I said. The whole capital is talking about it. Everyone knows Lu Wanner is your and Lu Xiaoxiao's daughter, and father doesn't know. My father's face changed drastically. The next day at court, a censor came forward to accuse my father of moral misconduct and violating the law. The censor had even investigated all my father's relatives within 5 degrees of kinship, confirming there was no mother of Lu Wanner among them. Although in the end they couldn't prove my father visited prostitutes, they could prove my father had behaved improperly. The emperor was furious. That was his highly revered mentor, yet he had done something so outrageous. My father was ordered to reflect on his mistakes, and Lu Wanner was to be sent back to her hometown. Of course, I was the one who spread the rumors, and I was the one who found the evidence. The emperor's fury was incited by the empress. If Lu Wanner had obediently returned to her hometown, my father would have eventually supported her anyway. But she was used to living in the prosperous capital and would rather die than go back home. She even recklessly ran back to the Kui residence. The gatekeeper wouldn't let her in, so she cried and begged at the door for my father to save her. This matter was reported by the censors again. The emperor directly docked my father's salary for a year. This time, my father was truly angry. He no longer cared about those tender feelings, and personally arranged for someone to send her out of the city. I even went to see her off. When Lu Wanner's carriage was leaving the city, she suddenly lifted the curtain and stared at me intensely. "It was you who did this, wasn't it?" I said. "Yes. What can you do about it?" "Don't be so smug, there will be retribution," I laughed. "Your retribution is me." I wanted her to watch helplessly as the thing she desired most was right before her eyes, yet always one step out of reach. She tried to rush off the carriage like a madwoman, but was pushed back by the old servant woman. Lu Wanner, you can't even handle this. The suffocating despair that comes bit by bit, you haven't tasted it yet. After returning to the manor, my mother asked me, "Did your father really have the heart to send her away?" I laughed and said, "He can barely take care of himself. Of course he was willing." What true love? Anything that threatens his interests is a curse in his eyes. My mother also laughed. Ever since I started acting crazy, my mother has been smiling noticeably more. I took the opportunity to ask Mother, a man like my father, "Do you really plan to spend your whole life with him?" My mother lowered her head and said, "In the past, your father was very good. When I gave birth to you, he held you and grinned like a fool. Back then he hadn't become Grand Tutor yet, just a minor 5th rank official. But later, as his position grew higher, he changed. Especially after meeting Lu Xiaoxiao. I wanted to leave, but I was afraid that Lu Xiaoxiao would harm you. Right at that time, your father was being attacked by others. I was afraid Lu Xiaoxiao would be discovered, so I had her hide. Who knew that Lu Xiaoxiao, realizing there was no hope of entering the Kui household, took the chance to run off with someone else. Yet your father still thought she was deeply devoted to him. When he found out she only left after I had contacted her, he assumed I was the one who drove her away. A couple of years ago, that Lu Xiaoxiao found your father again. She said that back then, I forced her to abort the child because I found out she was pregnant. She claimed she had no choice but to flee far away to protect their child. She was originally pregnant with twins of a boy and a girl. But because she was frightened and displaced, the boy didn't survive after birth. Only the daughter survived, and she begged him to take her in, to help find a good husband's family for her daughter, so she wouldn't suffer like her mother did. Her daughter was Luwaner. Your father was deeply moved and agreed right away. He also thought about how there could have been a son, but I caused his death. You know your father, the biggest heartache of most of his life was not having a son. From then on, he hated me even more, and that hatred extended to you as well. Mother, you knew all along. Then why didn't you tell father? My mother smiled with relief. He hates me to the bone and wouldn't believe a word I say. Besides, he humiliates me every day. Why should I tell him? What if he believed me and came back to me? I've long given up on your father coming back. Even if he did, I'd find it disgusting. I just wanted to guard my dowry well, and when you get married, I'd give it all to you. I never knew my mother had thought things through so clearly. Mother, then let's go to Jiangnian together. My mother's eyes lit up, then dimmed again. Your father would never let me leave. If I left on my own, I'd be considered a runaway wife. As long as mother wants to leave, just wait for my word. At midnight, the person I sent out came back with a report. A sedan chair was carried in through the back gate of the Shen residence. Just as I expected, my father is willing to let her go, but Shen Qingyan isn't. Luwaner is already carrying his flesh and blood love. There is some fear, there is some too. He doesn't dare push Luwaner too far. On the third day after Luwaner was carried in through the back gate of the Shen residence, just past noon, my father hurried off to the Shen residence. I immediately entered the palace to seek an audience with the Empress. I knelt before the Phoenix throne, eyes downcast. Your Majesty, my father can't bear to part with that Luwaner, and is discussing countermeasures with my fiancé at the Shen residence. The Empress said angrily. How audacious. She was ordered to be sent back to her hometown. How dare she return? I said. My father is so disgraceful. I wish to request a divorce decree for my mother. According to the law, mutual agreement is called amicable separation. When initiated by the man, it is called repudiating the wife. When initiated by the woman, it is called divorcing the husband. But this divorce decree is no easy matter. The man must have committed a grave wrong. Luwaner didn't actually return to her hometown, and my father conspired with Shen Qingyan to conceal this. That counts as deceiving the emperor. The empress felt deeply that my mother deserved better, and immediately granted the divorce decree. I kowtowed deeply in gratitude. Your Majesty, you are a Li and my mother's lifelong benefactor, speaking to the emotional part. I couldn't help but shed hot tears. The Empress warmly helped me up and said, Silly child, why be so formal with me? When you and your mother get to Jiangnan, make sure to send word from time to time. I said, Your Majesty, rest assured. Even regarding that silk cotton business, I will need to consult your Majesty from time to time. Emotions and interests must intersect for relationships to be more stable. The Empress smiled knowingly. When I returned to my residence, I made a special detour to the Shen residence. It was already surrounded by soldiers, packed so tight not even water could leak through. My father and Shen Qingyan were both caught like turtles in a jar. I hurried back to the residence to find Mother. I gave her the divorce papers, and her eyes immediately turned red. I told her about the situation at the Shen residence. Mother couldn't care less about whether they lived or died. She enthusiastically started moving her dowry. Land deeds, shop properties, gold, silver, and jewelry. I told Mother that in a few more days, we could set off for Jiangnan. She smiled with curved brows and eyes, just like a young girl, looking at her so full of vitality. My nose stung with emotion. Mother, it is so wonderful that you are alive. In this life, it is my turn to protect you, Shen residence. The capital magistrate and Granny Gui from the Empress's side came in person. When Luwaner was dragged out from the inner chamber by two matrons, she still forced herself to stay composed. I wasn't defying the imperial decree. It is just that I felt unwell and came back to get medicine. Felt unwell. Granny Gui glanced at her abdomen, Looks more like pregnancy to me. In her mind, whether Lu Wanner was pregnant or not, she had to be pregnant. Just like me in my previous life. Lin Wanner fell to her knees with a thud, her face drained of color. That is absolutely not true, Granny. Please see clearly. Whether it is true or not, one examination will tell. We can't wrong you either. A servant woman for body examination took Lu Wanner away. After just a moment, she reported back. This woman is no longer a virgin and is nearly 2 months pregnant. My father swayed unsteadily, while Shen Qingyan collapsed limply to the ground. Speak! Who is the adulterer? The capital magistrate shouted furiously. Countless gazes were pinned on Shen Qingyan. His lips quivered. He looked around in panic, but ultimately didn't dare to admit it. After all, our engagement was still in place. If he had illicit relations without a matchmaker, his future would be ruined. I was just reminiscing about an old acquaintance. She said she needed to get medicine and would only stay for a few days, so I took her in. I was just about to send her back to her hometown. Luana raised her head and stared fixedly at Shen Qingyan, all the color draining from her face. My father gave her a look, signaling her to take the blame herself first. She was ruthless in the end. Gritting her teeth, she admitted that she had carelessly lost her virtue. The capital magistrate said, "Since you've confessed for corrupting moral principles, according to the law, you shall be drowned in a pond. Execution in 3 days." After leaving the Shen residence, my father went around begging everyone for help. Shen Qingyan also sought help everywhere, completely different from his coldness toward me in my previous life. It seems he really did have true love for Lu Wanner, but when a wall is falling, everyone pushes. What is more, the Empress had sent someone to be present. Who would help the two of them? With no other options left, the two of them actually came to beg me. Shen Qingyan blocked my way, his eyes bloodshot. "Shuili, I know you still love me. As long as you save Wanner, I'll marry you as my legal wife immediately. She can be a co-wife. No, even a favored concubine would do. She is pregnant. We can't let 2 lives be lost." I looked at him indifferently, like looking at a dog. Seeing I didn't agree, he actually knelt at my feet. "Shuili, I promise you'll be the legal wife. Only the children you bear will be legitimate heirs. At most, I'll make her a bedchamber maid to serve you." I was really about to die laughing. He couldn't bear to part with the child, nor with the child's mother. Seeing I didn't relent, my father also pleaded, "Ali, I know you can put in a word with her ladyship. Wanner shares your blood after all. Surely you can't bear to watch her die." I finally laughed out loud. "Father, how could I not bear it? I can bear a lot. After all, in my previous life, I endured for a long time. The 3 of you watched me die together, neat and tidy. This life, you 2 can watch her die together, neat and tidy." 3 days later, the pond in the western outskirts. Heavy snow and bitter wind, as cold as the day I was drowned in my previous life. Lu Wanner was bound in a bamboo cage, her hair disheveled. Her eyes were full of bloodshot veins, glaring fixedly at the people on the shore. She saw my father, saw Shen Qingyan, and also saw me. She already knew the 2 of them couldn't save her. I slowly walked over and stopped a few steps away from her. She begged me, "Cousin, you've always protected me. For the sake of our past bond, please save me." I said, "You knew I was good to you. But what about you? Did you live up to how well I treated you? What is most hateful is that Shen Qingyan was just a rotten man. If you wanted him, fine. I already let you have him, so why did you still try to harm me at every turn? If we switched places, would you spare me today? Let me tell you, your fate today was brought about by me. Kui Shuili, may you die a horrible death. I won't let you go even as a ghost. Fine, become a ghost first then. Let's see how you won't let me go." At this moment, the executioner announced it was time for the execution. My father and Shen Qingyan both stood on the shore with bloodshot eyes. Their gazes lingered on Lu Wanner, as if filled with endless affection. Even now, the only one Lu Wanner hated was me. How could this be acceptable? It was too unfair. I leaned down and said to Lu Wanner, "Don't say I didn't give you a chance. I'll let those 2 watch you. If they save you, I absolutely won't stop them." Really, a terrifying hope suddenly erupted in her eyes. I called over Nanny Guy and said in front of her, "If those two save her, please trouble Nanny to plead with her ladyship on my behalf, and spare her the death penalty." Granny Guy nodded and said, "The Empress has spoken here. This old servant will only follow Mrs. Orders." Luaner immediately shot her burning gaze towards my father and Shen Qingyan. I straightened up, no longer looking at her, turned and walked towards the carriage, parked not far away. Luaner began to whimper urgently, writhing. She thought she finally had a chance to live. But my father avoided her gaze, his face ashen, his feet as if nailed to the ground, not moving a single step. There seemed to be tear stains on Shen Qingyan's face. Meeting Luander's desperately pleading eyes, his lips trembled as he shuffled forward an extremely tiny step. Granny Gui's icy gaze immediately pierced over. He shuddered violently. This step, in the end, he couldn't take it. The bone-chilling pond water surged up instantly, bit by bit rising over Luaner's ankles, waist, chest. Luaner still wanted to cry for help, but those two men were like two clay and wooden puppets. Her last sliver of hope, extinguished bit by bit, gurgling bubbles rose up and burst. Then the water surface returned to calm, leaving only circles of spreading ripples. Dead silence on the shore. My mother asked me, "If those two really saved Luaner, would you really have let her go?" I said, "Mother, in those men's eyes, how can women be worth as much as power? This is their human nature." Of course, I also arranged a backup plan. If someone really jumped in to save her, then they wouldn't be able to get out of the pond either. When it comes to revenge, I must leave nothing to chance. The carriage stopped at the front gate of the QI residence, the luggage already loaded. Mother and I were about to set off. Mother and I had just gotten on the carriage when we saw two dispirited figures. My father and Shen Qingyan had returned. Luaner's death didn't mean the two of them were safe now. The Emperor's suspicion, their rivals' attacks, every move was deadly. The two of them discussed briefly, wanting to ask Mother to step in and have the Empress help. At least to let them catch their breath first. They didn't even bother to brush off the snow covering their heads and shoulders, urgently conferring at the threshold. Shen Qingyan's voice trembled. "Master, if Madam is unwilling to plead with the Empress..." My father was full of confidence. "Your Madam naturally understands that a wife should follow her husband. She is just a woman, always obedient to me." Shen Qingyan nodded. "Yes. Besides Madam, there is also Shuili. She can also put in a word with the Empress." My father immediately perked up. "Right, and now that Wanner is gone, wouldn't her wish to become your legal wife be fulfilled? Given that girl's feelings for you, how could she not help you with all her might?" The two spoke with increasing enthusiasm, about to step into the residence. At this moment, horse hooves lightly sounded. The two of them were startled. Only then did they turn and see us, see the carriage loaded with trunks and boxes. My father's expression changed, habitually putting on his dignified air. "Nonsense. Where do you think you are going? Get back to the manor. Your husband has important matters to discuss with you." Mother didn't say anything. Granny Zhao stepped forward and shoved a document into my father's hands. My father glanced at it, his face turning pale. A divorce letter. Impossible, Wronger. You can't possibly leave me." My mother didn't spare him a single glance, only said indifferently to the coachman, "Let's go." The carriage slowly started moving. My father panicked and chased after. "Wronger, you can't. Qingyan, quick, stop Shuili." Shen Qingyan also rushed to the carriage, reaching out to grab the window frame. "Shuili, our engagement still stands. You can't leave." I looked at him through the carriage window and suddenly smiled. "Not for long." He froze. Mother looked at me. I said with a smile, "If the fiancé is shattered, doesn't that mean the engagement no longer exists?" At the end of the long street, a thin woman wearing a tattered veiled hat quietly appeared. Shen Qingyan was chasing me with all his might and didn't notice. A cold glint flashed from the woman's hand, tepeftif. The blade sank into flesh and blood. Shen Qingyan's body stiffened, and he looked down in disbelief at the blade tip protruding from his chest. "Shen Qingyan." The woman's every word carried bone, deep hatred and sorrow. When Wanner was looking at you from the water, you sure stood there steady, didn't you? She drew her blade and stabbed again. One stab, then another. The light in Shen Qingyan's eyes rapidly scattered. He moved his lips, but couldn't say anything, and collapsed limply into the snow. Fresh blood gushed out, spreading across the snow. Blindingly red, everything happened too fast. My father stood frozen on the spot. Until he clearly saw that face in his memory of one who loved too deeply to live long, who had long ago died of illness. The last trace of color drained from his face. She was Lu Wanner's birth mother, Lu Xiaoxiao. In the previous life, after Lu Wanner gained power, she kept her in silk and jade. So I knew she never actually died. She only faked her death, to make my father hate my mother more and feel more heartache for Lu Wanner. For Lu Wanner, she was willing to give up anything. This life, I found her ahead of time, and let her see with her own eyes that my father and Shen Qingyan didn't save Lu Wanner. Her true feelings for my father were fake, but her love for Lu Wanner was real. The carriage didn't stop. Mother withdrew her gaze and looked at me. It seems you really are heartless towards this fiancé of yours. I leaned against the carriage wall and replied with a smile. He said it himself that he'd rather shatter like jade. This is just granting his wish. Besides, it was only a few cuts, he didn't shatter that badly. I paused for a moment, then asked, then why was Mother so ruthless to my father too? Mother handed over all of my father's many unspeakable crimes as evidence to the royal family. She didn't leave my father any way out. I remember Mother said, because she had me. She didn't really hate my father that much. She did it so ruthlessly, I truly couldn't understand. Mother held me tightly in her arms. After a long while, she said, one day, I dreamed that your father conspired with others to drown you in a pond. He just stood on the bank watching you sink into the water bit by bit. And I was already dead by then. I was desperately anxious but couldn't save you, so I made a deal with the Wu Chang to let me come back and save you. I suddenly hugged Mother tightly, tears pouring out. Mother, what deal did you make? I asked while crying. Mother said with a smile, Ali, that was just a dream. When the dream ended, I saw you coming to me with a beaming smile. What a wonderful dream it was, being able to be with you like this again. What wouldn't be worth trading? Spring in Jiangnan, I heard, comes early, and Mother and I are on our way there.